The Mouse and the Motorcycle by Beverly Cleary. Read by Mary Parks. Chapter 5. Adventure in the Night. When Ralph had mastered riding the motorcycle on the threadbare carpet, he went bumping over the roses on the less worn parts under the dresser and the bedside table. That was fun, too. "Hey," whispered the boy, "come on out where I can see you." Ralph shot out into the moonlight where he stopped, sitting jauntily on the motorcycle with one foot resting on the floor. "Say," he said, "how about letting me take her out in the hall, just for a little spin to see how fast she'll go?" "Promise you'll bring it back?" asked Keith. "Scout's honor," asked Ralph, who had picked up many expressions from children who had stayed in 215. "Okay, I'll tell you what," said Keith. "You can use it at night, and I'll use it in the daytime. I'll leave the door open an inch so you can get in. That way, you can ride it up and down the hall at night." "Can I really?" This was more than Ralph had hoped for. "Where do you want me to park it when I come in?" he asked. "Someplace where the maid won't step on it," answered the boy. "That's easy. Under the bed. She practically never cleans under the bed." "Yes, I know," agreed Keith. "I looked. There are a lot of dust mice back there." "Oh, please." Ralph was pained. "Oh, sorry," said the boy. "That's what my mother calls bunches of dusty fluff under the bed." "My mother doesn't," said Ralph. "Now how about opening the door?" The boy put his hand on the doorknob. "You won't let anything happen to my motorcycle, will you?" he asked. I wouldn't let anything happen to a beauty like this," said Ralph. "See that you don't, and don't stay out too late." The boy opened the door and permitted Ralph to put out into the dim light of the hall. Ralph had a scary feeling he was on the threshold of adventure. There were no beds or chairs for him to dart under in case of danger. The floor creaked. Someone was snoring in room 214 across the hall. Outside in the pines, an owl hooted, sending prickles up Ralph's spine. Ralph controlled the trembling of his paws while he hesitated outside the door to consider the possibilities of the hall, which was carpeted down the center, leaving two smooth hallways of bare floor on either side along the baseboards. It did not take Ralph long to decide what to do. He picked up his tail, took a deep breath, bent low over the handlebars, flattened his ears, and sped down the hallway straight as fast as the motorcycle would go. He could feel his whiskers swept back by the force of his speed. It was glorious. Ralph had never ventured so far from home before. The old wooden hotel, cooling in the night air, snapped and creaked. But Ralph was brave. He was riding a motorcycle. He passed room 213, ran out of breath, let momentum carry him past another noisy snorer in room 211, on down the hall to the elevator, the mysterious elevator that carried people to that wonderful place Ralph had heard so much about, the ground floor. Ah! When Ralph came to the stairs, he stopped to look down, knowing it was impossible to ride a motorcycle downstairs, and at the same time wishing he could see himself for the wonders that lay below. He sniffed the air, and it seemed to him that he could smell the strange foods he had heard about. Cinnamon buns with sticky frosting, turkey stuffing, and pancakes with maple syrup. A ray of moonlight from a window glinted on the glassy eye of a mounted deer's head over the stair landing and startled Ralph, sending him off down the hall past the linen room closet to the end of the hall, where he executed a sharp turn and started back. Exhilarated by speed, Ralph raced up and down. Once he heard some people getting out of the elevator, he had to duck behind the curtain of a window at the end of the hall. Toward midnight, he had passed his Aunt Sissy scurrying along the baseboard. He waved and nearly lost control of the motorcycle. Aunt Sissy stopped to stare while Ralph rode on, feeling pleased with himself, at the same time sorry for Aunt Sissy. Poor frightened thing, with only her feet to carry her from one crumb to the next. Up and down the hall raced Ralph until, after an especially noisy burst of speed outside room 211, he was startled to hear a dog bark inside the room. Now it was Ralph's turn to be frightened. Oh, he thought, I'd better be careful. If there was one thing Ralph disliked, it was people who traveled with dogs. End of tape. Please flip the tape to hear the end of Chapter 5, Adventure in the Night.